Initially, you may think that it is a corporation, company, 주식회사, right? Some company listed in the stock market. So the share of the firms are exchanged, trade. So you become the owner of the share, what do you call it, shareholders. So well, that is basically what firm is, company is. But in the real world, there are more other types of company, right? So don't think that company in the stock market is the only types of company. A lot of small private company also the company, right? Also there are like company which is really globally big, but you never heard of because the company is not simply listed in the stock market in any place. So there are many types of companies. So we are going to talk about that. So what's the strengths, limitation, advantages, disadvantage of those different types of firm. Okay, so that's what we are going to talk about today. So when you start your business, certainly I believe that your firm grow in few years, hopefully. But as your size of the firm grow, you have to think about changing your types of organizations. That's the effect. Obviously, you may face with that challenge. You may face with that questions. Changing type of cooperation, right? Then you may think about the questions that we are going to talk about today all over again. So you maybe seriously consider then what new types of firm would be the best one for you or business continuous growing in the future. So choosing the right types of company for your business is very important. So what you're going to talk about today is very fundamental characteristic of each different types of firm. So every country does have a corporate law, 회사법, right? So that corporate laws are very different across the countries. So Korea has our own unique corporate law, and other countries also have their different corporate laws. So you have to look very carefully when you actually establish a firm. So that's why you need a lawyer for this one. However, since you are the manager, you should be the one who really know this one most, right? So before we talk about then, let me ask you one question to you. Can you explain what happened in Hanjin this day? Hanjin Shipping, the name of the company. Can you explain someone here what happened to the firm? Yeah. Yeah.
The CEO of Hanjin was that the CEO actually died. So the wife of the CEO got inherited the firm, and she really cared only about her self-interest. So the firm actually began to demolish.
Okay. So basically, the company bankrupt. What is bankruptcy? What do you mean by company bankrupt? What? Running out of business. Why? Simply couldn't make the money, right? So when you actually run business, you certainly establish a firm, right? You have to set up a firm. This is firm. So in order for you to run the business, what you have to do? You need money, of course. You need to hire a lot of employees, right? You need to rent your building, right? Also, you need to rent equipment. You need to buy, say, factories, property, and so on. So for you to run the business, you need money, right? For you to run a very small, tiny shop, you may use that resource from your own bank account. However, if you run really like big one, like Hanjin, right? Even if you are so rich man, you just cannot afford your business by yourself. You have to borrow lots of money from where? Bank, right? Bank. Or you have to borrow money from where? Investors, right? Investor here. By issuing stocks. Or you may borrow the money by issuing your company's bonds, 채권. So by issuing 채권, somebody may buy that bonds. So you pay the simply say interest to that bond holder for a certain period of time, and then at the end of that period you have to pay back the principal. So mostly these are the source for you to these are the source for you to raising fund to run your business. You need money. You need blood. We need blood to live a healthy life, right? To make a living. So likewise, company need money, and these are how they source money from all other institutions. So the thing is that since you borrow the money from all of these institutions and people, your obligation is you have to pay back, right? And bankruptcy means that in order for you to pay back, you have to earn money, right? You have to make money from somebody else. If you keep not making money, what you call a loss, you just cannot pay them back, right? So that's the status, what you call a bankruptcy. Like Hanjin Haeun shipping case, the company bankrupt because what? Why? It is a shipping company. The company thought that international shipping business will be growing because of the internationalization business, like globalization, more trade, free trade. However, what happened? Global recession, right? So trade volume decreasing, plus a lot more shipping companies, competitors. So that's why the Hanjin Shipping couldn't make money. They borrowed a lot of money from everywhere, but they couldn't simply pay back. So that's because they couldn't make the money. So that's bankruptcy. So the question is this one. As she said, the owner of this company is a kind of lady, right? Right. So the thing was that the public asked her that, since the company bankrupt and you are the manager and leader of the firms, so you should be responsible for that bankruptcy and not making profit. Right. How she be responsible for that bankrupt company? Personally, she has a lot of money, right? She is one of Jabar, super rich person in Korea. So she might have a lot of cash, that cash or securities, properties that may nothing to do with the companies to some extent. So since the company bankrupt, the public or even governments, one is since she is so rich person, she be responsible for that bankrupt company by donating her money for that bankrupt company. So that's some of the issues, and even the most powerful man actually criticized in that way. I think that's the starting point of what we are going to talk about today. Hanjin Shipping is what you call a 주식회사, right? Stock companies, right? What is stock company? We will talk about this one later. Stock company means that the investor owners are responsible for the company's outcome, performance, or any kinds of behavior only in limited way. So that means if the company bankrupt, then the owner only responsible for that problem as much as what she owns for that firms. So legally, if the company bankrupt, then the manager or owner's loss is simply what they invested. That's it. She don't or he doesn't need to be responsible more than that. So in the case of cooperation stock companies, the point is investors, owners, whatever person who put their money in that company only be responsible in a very limited way. So that limited way means responsible for the size of the share that the investors actually have. Right. Right. No more responsibility the shareholders or investors actually need to care about. I mean, so that's actually the point of the stock companies. You only be responsible what happened to the firm in any in limited way, even the company bankrupt. Is it good to you or bad to you if you are investors? Good. It's good, right? Just believe me, it is good, right? You put your money for the firms, which means that you are taking risk. Putting your money for the firms simply means by buying the firm share, that means you are taking risk. Business is always a risk, but when crisis happen, of course, you should be responsible, but only in limited way. Simply say, if you invest like 1,000,000 won, right, then your responsibility is only losing 1,000,000 won, that's it. So pretty much by giving that limitations, the company can attract a lot more investors, attract a lot more money, so the company can grow more, invest more, and so on. Some people say that, what really changed the world, actually? Just imagine the world in 15th century or 16th century, 16th century. Just imagine how the world looked like at that time. Very primitive world, right? Still riding horses, whatever, right? Live a very primitive life. But what happened like 19th century and 20th centuries? Huge development, right? Huge development, far advancement in technology, production, employment, and so on. So the human life changed radically by going through from 19th century to 20th centuries. Why? How? Some people say that's because of company. Company actually, cooperation, make us totally live in a new, different world. So when you say company change world, what does that mean? Limited responsibility is actually what it means. You can grow the firm, which means that you can take more and more risks, hiring more and more people, invest more and more area, but your responsibilities are only limited. So that may be kind of a attracting kind of a factor to potential people outside. Because of that reduced risk, company were able to grow, so the world can be able to grow more. So that's actually the argument of some people. Company changed the world, not really train, not really some brilliant advancement, development or something. So the point is this one, cooperations, very good for making, we talked about earlier, a few weeks ago, you should be very efficient in making something, you should be very effective. For doing that, forming company is the most effective way, right? The strength of that company is that the people involved in that company are only taking limited responsibility. So that's the strength of the cooperation. Back to Hanjin Shipping case, even if the company bankrupt, the manager owner should be managed only in that limited way. If the manager owners are not behaving like corrupted things. I'm just talking about the news article, paper article today. So asking them fully, unlimitedly responsible for that bankrupt company is actually shaking the fundamentals of the spirit of the cooperation, actually. You should not, according to the article, ask manager, owner, a unlimited responsibility. If we keep asking them to asking them unlimited responsibility, then at the end nobody will try to create company, try to invest more, and so on. That's pretty much article that I read today. So the point is, that's the characteristic of a stock company in cooperation. However, if Hanjin is other types of a cooperation, then certainly the owner, manager should be fully responsible. Depending on what types of the firm structure the company is actually adopting, their scale of responsibilities are vary. So we are going to talk about this one. So simply say there are three types of company, right? So you can choose one of these three types of company in the future if you try to run the business by yourself. The first one is C company. The second one is S company. And the third one is LLC, limited liability companies. Let's talk about first C company. Before talking about that, let's look at fundamental structure of company, what you call a corporate structure, right? This is mostly talking about like how can you say stock company, 주식회사, or 주식회사 not listed in the stock market, what you call a 유한회사. So, which is what you can say that quite sufficiently large size of firm that we can obviously say. So basically, in order for you to form the company, especially we are just talking about big one here, stock company, for instance. What you need to do is first you need money, right? You can use your money from your own bank account, but that's not enough. So you have to attract other investors who are business partners who are in line with your idea. So they put their money all together, and by combining all that money together, we call this a 자본금, equity. So these are kind of a seed money for you to set up the company. Right? Since you put your money for a company, you and your partners are what you call shareholders, 주주, right? Shareholders. So these shareholders are actually the owner of the firm, as you see here. So if you buy, so when you say I own firm, so what does that mean? You just cannot really own the firm, right? So we cannot own something, but this is from how can you own the firm? So you own the firm only by having or buying the firm's share. 주식, right? So the number of shares you buy is actually the size of your power for that firms, right? The power of your right for that firm. Right? So how many shares you actually own is actually the size of your investment and your ownership right for that firms. So that's are the owners. Like Samsung, for instance, 100,000 shareholders. You can be a shareholders after this class. Just open a bank account, buy a Samsung share. Then you can be a shareholders, owners. But the problem is that there are 1,000 owners here, so that 1,000 people cannot really run the companies. So they have to choose, as you see here, a representative among them. So of course that representative, somebody who put the largest money, the biggest amount of money, or somebody who may be like who has the expert in that business. So they have to, so this shareholder should choose kind of a representing figures out of these owners. So that representing figures what we call a directors. 이사. Right? So on behalf of all of these shares, these directors really representing the ownership of the firms. We own these firms and we are responsible for these companies. However, these directors probably may have the expert in that business or in managing company or and so on, but they may not really a professional in managing the firms. Mostly like Samsung, for instance, I think that they tend to have, say, 9 directors, 이사. And but again, the directors may or may not be really good at managing the whole company. So they hire a professional to run the companies. Right? So if they hire the professional, what you call manager, so let them manage the whole company. So the leader of that manager is what I call CEO. And say the leader of this director, 이사, and the meeting group of these directors are what I call a 이사회, board of directors. And the leader of that directors group is what I call a chairman. So these directors, 이사, together decide and appoint CEO, their term, condition, salary, and so on. So CEO, on behalf of all these people, actually run the company. So that's actually how mostly corporate structure is actually not only big firm, global firm, but also some of my father's company or your father's company actually run their own company in this way. For small company case, if you see the name card of that company, probably you may see that I'm Mr. say James and I am the chairman as well as and CEO. What does that mean? That means James is actually the leader of director. At the same time, he is the CEO, which is possible in small scale company. Probably theoretically possible in globally large giant company, but in really super big company case, quite rare you simultaneously preside chairman as well as CEO. Of course, if you are the extremely talented one, then you can be the chairman as well as CEO. But actually that is how corporate structure is design. Having said that, let us look at first what is, say, C company. C company in Korean, 개인기업, right? So you can be the C company just after school class, go to the registration office in your place to live, and then just submit some of the documents, and you can be certainly easily open your own C company, or what you call a sole proprietorship. So kind of a 개인기업, what do you call it? So probably all of the firms start from this sole proprietorship, right? It has a strength, however, it has a lot of limitations. So that's why types of firm keep advancing and advancing, and at the end we finally end up with stock company. it has a lot of advantage, and because of the advantage, the world, the world become much more developed and civilized, according to somebody else's argument. So sole proprietorship, 개인기업, or C company in USA, they call C company. What's the characteristic of that sole proprietorship, 개인기업? So these are some of the strengths and weakness of sole proprietorship. So simply, 사기업, 개인기업 means the company is you. You are the company. So you and company are the same. So which means if the company bankrupt, then you are actually bankrupt, right? If company destroyed, that means simply you are destroyed. Right? You are end, just end, right? So that's why. I mean, like this day, a lot of people were government saying that graduate here rather than applying for big firms. Why not start your own business? Why not start your own startups? The startups may be sole proprietorship, but students, even though they have a brilliant ideas, I know that they hesitating starting their business through this one because a lot of disadvantage of that job, right? So we'll look at what's that is. The major strength is very easy and inexpensive. Here, easy means not really easy, man. You need to still prepare some documentation, your, say, bank record and your, say, track record of your, say, credit and so on. But compared to other preparation of the firm, setting your own business pretty much easy and not that expensive. When you say actually start something from, say, stock companies or say partnership, you have to pay a special tax for that one. However, that special tax are not available in that sole proprietorship. And the thing is, profit goes to the owners. As I told you, your 사기업, right? Your sole proprietorship is simply yourself, right? So what the company is making is actually what you are making. So all firms earn is all yours. What firm is yours, which means that what the firm spend is totally up to you, right? So, let's say that tonight I don't feel like good, so let's use company money for drinking party. It is possible because the company is yours, right? And all of the company's money is yours money. So radically say, all of the profit is actually yours, and you are directly controlling your business. I don't like to open my shop today because simply I don't like it. Okay, if you don't like it, just do it. So everything about the business is actually on the hand of your controls. You are really the master of that firm. And freedom from the government. Nobody touch you. If you run really big companies, right, like giant companies, a lot of intervention from the government, right? Even if you really did kind of strange things, or even if you say make kind of a lack of a public report, then you will be called. Go to the, say, court, and you have to manifest something. So it's a lot of government intervention, regulation, and so on. However, for the 사기업, no such things. As far as you pay right tax. And no special tax cases. I think this is kind of a story in the past. This day, of course, the government policy in Korea tried to reduce less taxation on the sole proprietorships, especially when firms are not making really huge amount of money. But the best advantage about the taxation case, you don't need to worry about like double taxations. Right? Like when big companies case, when company make profit, that profit goes to shareholders. Right? There are mostly two double taxation. When company make profit, the company should pay tax, and that profit goes to the shareholders, and then there should be also tax on that, what I call dividends, 배당. So you have to pay tax twice, but no such things in sole proprietorship. And the good thing is easy of dissolution. I just don't like to work anymore. I just work for the company. So today is the last day of my business, and just you can do it. You can finish your business if you want, anytime. However, disadvantage is that unlimited liability, right? I mean, again, if you run your business by your own money, your bank account, that's fine. But as I mentioned, when you run the business, you always need money, right? So that money mostly come from bank or your father, mother, family, friends, whatever. But once you fail to pay them back, then you what? You have to be fully responsible for that failure. Right? You have to sell your car, house. You have to totally be naked to pay them back, right? Even if you may need to sell your organs sometimes. Right? If you are healthy, it will be very good, right? So unlimited liability means that you have to be anyway responsible. If the business failed, you lose up your money. Plus, still, if you are not yet enough to pay them back, you have to do whatever. You should be slave sometimes. That could be a disadvantage. So because of that risk, very difficult to raise more money, right? Like bank, for instance. Since not many actually people run the company here, and also in case of risk of business failure, the bank also need to worry about failure of returning their investment. Because of that risk, the bank or your friend, father, mother, family, or whatever, whoever, hesitating to lend you the money. So very difficult to raise capital. And since you are the company itself, right? So very hard to get away from that limited small scale size. In that case, you may be troubling in finding good employees, professionals, and so on. So because of that, you have to make full-time commitment to the firm itself, which also causing business unstable life. But anyway, as far as you are really good at, say, in your own business, certainly this would be, sole proprietorship would be the best way for you to make huge amount of money. Because as I told you, profit goes to you all the way. Right? You don't need to really share. It's yours, right? But again, like company is like a bicycle, right? If you should continue accelerating the pedals all the time. If you stop accelerating the pedal, your bicycle just slowed down and fell down. Right? So you have to continue run the firms like accelerating pedals of bicycle. So continuing run the pedal means you have to continuously pour in the cash for the companies. Right? That's actually task. If you guarantee your profit consistently, you can manage that one. However, nobody really guarantee your consistent profit. So that's why partnership as an alternative, the sole proprietorship created. And when I was like college student, I can say that I didn't have, not at all, I didn't see any kinds of, say, dental clinic network. Do you know what I'm saying? For instance, 연치과. I used to go to 연치과. The name of the dental clinic. Is a dental clinic network. So you see 연치과 in, say, 신촌, 연치과 in 청담, in any place in Seoul. So which means that dentists forming network each other, right? Create one company, what they call 연치과, right? So that the dentist forming network each other and do the business together and take the responsibility together. I think that's pretty common this day. Like legal service, law firm, for instance. Like we know that legal service as well as dental service, there are too many dentists, too many lawyers, so their competitions are high, so their profit goes down. So that's why they form this kind of a network each other. So that's what I call a partnership. So in partnership, there are two types. As you see here, not here. General partnership and limited partnership. So 합자 한명 회사 and 합자 회사. So in partnership, so this is general partnership. And 합자 회사 means a limited partnership. When we put, say, limited means your responsibility is only limited, right? Now we understand what limited means, right? General means no limited responsibility. You have to take full responsibility. Right? You take all of the risk, 100% whatsoever. So that's a general partnership. So simply this one, like dental clinic network case, a lot of dentists, like 7, 8, maximum like 20, form network each other, right? They put their money all together, forming equity, 자본금, and then they set up the companies. And then, so it goes like sole proprietorships. All profit goes directly to the participants of the partnership. Yeah.
Do all the dental clinics have the same name?
Yeah. I mean, it depends, not really, but in order for them to have some kind of a binding, in the case of Yeon Dental Clinic case, 연치과 case, probably they just try to have a same logo, same style of medical service, same design, whatever, yeah, probably. So try to identify themselves as kind of a one service, one team, yeah.
It's a partnership of a lot of dentists, so they're just using the partnership to lessen the competition, or do they also
Yeah, lessen the competition also for you to become big in the market. So big means more market power, right?
But that doesn't mean that they're sharing profits, right?
Yeah, they are sharing profit. It depends on how they describe profit sharing for each dental clinic run. It depends on how they define in terms of profit sharing. Right, 50 about what they earn, 50 may goes to like sharing together, or 50 maybe each other's pocket, actually depending on your agreement, say. Yeah.
So there's like each place, let's say there's 5 places that are of this partnership with dental clinics, but one is like surgery and one is like a plaster and one is like...
So yeah, that is also part of your agreement of that joining member, right? So yeah, like this then, I mean, this day dentists this day not only do the dental things, but they also do cosmetic surgery. So surprisingly, yeah. So yeah, some people do continue their basic service in dental clinic, but some other may start like skincare, whatever. So it is part of their, say, thing, the agreement each other. So once the agreement reached, the mechanism of business is exactly the same of sole proprietorship. Full responsibility, right? Full responsibility, and however profits are all theirs, and the government intervention regulations pretty much limited and minimal, and so on. However, once the business failed, they should be fully responsible. They may even, mostly responsibility here means like a failure of pay back the borrowed money. Right? So that's the most important things. Right? If you borrowed money, you have to pay back according to that contract. But if you fail to do that, you have to go. You should go to the jail. Yeah.
So the only way partnership or a sole proprietorship would go bankrupt is when that person borrows money.
Plus, yeah, that may be the major case. Major, say, commitment, right? The most important things.
But let's say they did not borrow money.
Then you don't need to worry about it. However, again, please trust me, if you really want to run business well and grow more and more, then expansion of your business is necessary. Without borrowing money, you just cannot expand. Your profit is not really sufficient enough for you to expand as much as you want. So, like 2 cases in the market, a company growing really, really fast. First, the company really profitable. Second, the company is in real crisis. A company in critical situation also, as their last behavior, they just borrow a huge amount of money and then expand a lot. Like gambling, right? So if you just keep losing money in the casino, you have to stop, right? But in order to make up your lost money, you invest more. That happened in business. So that's why partnership once failed, all of you guys failed. This is very risky. So that's why who you join others as your partners are very important. So in the dental clinic case, probably your friends who went to the same medical school or doctor who are very famous in that field, probably #1 candidate of your business partner. So you just cannot choose anyone as the member of partnerships. Yeah, after the break, I will talk about 합작회사 limited. Pretty much the same, but a little bit different. It is more like professional forms and bigger scale of partnership. Okay, talk about that one. some of the partners are are entitled with like 100% of responsibility, but some of them allow with limited partner responsibility, which means that let's say that there are say six partners, and some of them are general partner, which means that full responsibility, and some of them are only limited responsibility. Let's say that these two are a limited partner. That means they only participating this network as investors, and only providing dental clinic service for the business, but not involved in the business management. So that's basically what limited partners. So let's say these two are limited partners. So that means not really strongly involved in or controlling whole dental clinics business, strategic decision making, or they are just investors and providing dental clinic. That's it, right? So so in case when the network fell into crisis, these limited partners only be responsible as much as they own the ownership of these partners, while the other, what I call general partners, are fully responsible for whatever company happens, especially that crisis case. So pretty much the simple mechanism. However, in general partnerships, all of the people, so general here means 100% unlimited responsibility, while the limited partnership means here some of the member here, partners, are general partner, and some of them are limited partners. So that's the slight difference. So again, like advantage and disadvantage, pretty much the same with the sole proprietorship. However, probably the different things, unique nature of partnership is this one. Sharing profit. Of course, in sole proprietorship, you owns everything. However, in this case, partnership case, you have to share with your partners. But also, the other major difficulty is that it is very difficult to get out of that membership. Once you get in, right, and you cannot say that I would like to be here, I want to leave, I want to get out. Not really possible, right? Once you join the dark world, right, just cannot get out, right? Just like that. Once you get in that partnership, just cannot get out, unless that is written in the partnership of the article of incorporation, 정관. Probably the rule of this partnership may be if you want to get out of the membership, all of them permit for you to get out, or simply, it's a very tough decision, right? So very hard to exit, and which means that they're very hard to dissolve. So you have to seriously think carefully once you are invited to join that partnership, because once you join, very hard to get out. So that's why you have to read carefully what are the conditions, what are the agreements among the membership here. Then what about that cooperation? Cooperation is simply what we call a 주식회사, right? Stock company. So stock company, by becoming stock company, your responsibility obligations are radically changing. So stock company, if your firms become stock company, that means you are creating like a human. So stock company, as you see here, corporation. So corporation consists of two types. Let's see in English here. Private company and stock company. As a private company, we call a 유한회사, and stock company is like 주식회사. So altogether we call a corporation. What you call in more knowledgeable word, 법인, right? So establishing corporation means you are creating a human, not by God, but by you. But anyway, that's like treated like human. So the company here, this is company. Once you set up corporation, the court law consider this one as a human. Right? So since you start your business like this one, your obligation, your entitlement, and your say responsibilities are totally different from sole proprietorship and partnerships. Let's look at private company first. Same, basically. The only different thing is that the ownership here, what I call a share, stocks are not really traded in the stock market. But here, the ownership, your ownership of the firm, simply traded. In partnership, you just cannot get out. That means your ownership cannot be tradable in partnership. But here or your ownership can be tradable all the time to others by selling your share ownership to others, right? So that's the major difference. So fundamentally, these two are very similar, but we can radically say that these are rather a small scale, while these are the case of really huge, large case. So, like say, if you become set up, or if you set up like cooperation, there would be very kind of a tough condition for you to meet. So once you set up cooperation, it is considered as a human, and also the member of this corporation only 100% take limited part responsibility. Right? So even if the company say bankrupt or fail to pay back, what you lose at the end is your invested money. You don't need to sell your say car, house. You don't need to sell your wife. I'm sorry, not wife. So you don't need to. You don't need to sell your house, car, dogs, whatever. Right? So you're only losing your invested money. Sorry. You just cannot sell your partner, right? Husband and wife. So that's the thing. So because of that limited responsibility, some people may abuse this system. So that's why government put a very tough regulation on the corporations. Some of the fundamentals is that the company's revenue, say, should be more than say, 수백억, 300억, I think, or the equity 자본금 of the firm should be more than say 50억, for instance. So that probably some of the fundamental condition. But the only difference between these two is that since you are only taking a limited responsibility, you have the obligation to abide by the government intervention. Right? Governments ask you a lot, like less pollution or more tax sometimes, or hire more. This kind of a government may ask you to do or to follow, then sometimes you have to follow their request. And also, you have to reveal your information, what's going on inside the company in terms of cash in, cash out, your plan of the business, and you have to report this one transparently and clearly to outside world. So that's obligation. You just cannot hide, right? And also, reporting to the public fairly, rightly, correctly is an obligation. You just cannot lie. If you lie, you go to jail. And also, since it's another one entity, one human, you just cannot use my money, right? I cannot use your money, right? So I go to jail if I use your money without your permission. So which means that you cannot use company money whatsoever. That's very serious criminal, right? This is an independent human company. You are another separate human, so you just cannot use companies. That's totally illegal, seriously a crime. So a lot of tough regulation. But the different thing, very same, but different thing is that private company is pretty much, some people call this a closed company. Compared to stock company, this one is pretty much less intervened by government, do not require to open up themselves to public. If you see the newspaper, like a few months ago, BMW Korea or Mercedes Korea, they are private company here, right? Their revenue, do you know how much they actually sell? Their sales size, revenue? 1조. Huge, right? So you may think that BMW Korea, for instance, is very kind of a subsidiary firm of German firm, right? German BMW. However, BMW Korea itself is a huge company, but not listed in stock market, which means they do not have any obligation to open their inside information to outside. And also, how they use their money is actually should not or less touched by government. So the news was that BMW Korea, for instance, even though their revenues are more than 1 billion 1조, they never pay the donation to Korean society any penny. They may made a huge fortune, but all of the profit go back to Germany. If it is a stock company, certainly it may not be possible. Right? Probably other shareholders may reject. Some of the shareholders may say that the profit reinvested for whatever. But since the company run privately, how they spend, where they spend the money, where they spend the profit is totally not really intervened by the government. It is simply closed company, right? Not in the stock market, which means that not really you can see what's going on for the firms. So some company, even if they are big, they do not want to be listed in the stock market, because once you become the stock market company, you have a lot more obligation. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about private firm, private company, stock company, and what's the advantage, what's the disadvantage, what's the role of the stock companies to the modern society and so on. And then we talk about business theory on next week.